Welcome to another episode of Game Boy Roulette, where we take a look at randomly chosen games from the Game Boy library. QBert, why, it's everyone's favorite, thing. The year is 1982. Well, actually it's 2021, but you know what I mean. It was 1982 and America was in the height of the golden age of arcades. Games like Pac-Man and Donkey Kong and Galaga were the hottest games in the world. But there was one cabinet that stood out from the others, and it was a little game called QBert. With strategic use of color and style, QBert created one of the earlier examples in arcades of a 3D perspective. Just that alone, coupled with the adorable main character, refreshing gameplay, and surprising profanity, well, kinda, made QBert one of the most memorable arcade games of that era. But let's talk about QBert's legacy a bit. See, games from the golden age of arcades usually fell into one of two categories. One, arcade games that would go on to be megastars and launch entire franchises, games like Donkey Kong or Pac-Man or Mario Brothers. And the other, much larger category were games that were popular, but as gaming evolved, pretty much stayed as relics of their era. Games like Asteroids, Space Invaders, Dig Dug, and, yes, QBert. They didn't really grow much after the arcade days were over, instead just releasing remakes every few years so new players could experience them. But that's not a bad thing. They were simply perfect examples of products of their time. As far as QBert on Game Boy goes, the cover is absolutely adorable. All the color, the lovable characters, the whimsy. Although that one monster seems genuinely concerned about QBert. Aw, don't worry, little guy, he'll be okay. Another arcade classic heads to the small screen. Let's get retro as we play QBert. QBert for Game Boy. Let's do this. Presented by Jalico. Oh, they've made some stuff. QBert for Game Boy. Oh, look at him. He's so adorable. Run away from the grape? What is that? Anyway, let's go. Jump on squares to change them to the target color. Look at him go, trying his hardest. Unless a disc is there. Right, there's like these little safety discs. Avoid these creatures. Oh, enemy breakdown. Coily ball. Lefty. Coily. Righty. Oh no, not bad ball. Go for these creatures. Slick. He's so cool. Sam. Freeze ball. Apple. And of course, because it's an arcade game, cherries are in it. Use spinning eggs to lure Coily to his demise? Oh god. Oh, that's rather morbid. Yay! I can't move. Oh, you actually have to hit the diagonals. It's like you have to hit down and right at the same time. What am I doing? Oh, he's so angry, but I could barely hear him. For some reason, they made his voice really quiet. Well, it's QBert. Let's lure Coily to his demise. Come on, Coily. Demise. They're very much going for an arcade throwback because there's not much music and it's all sound effects. Ooh, different level. Okay, this is already way more in-depth than the original arcade. The original arcade was literally one level. Are we in trouble? No, Coily! God, why is it so quiet? I want to hear QBert swear at me. Okay, the way it says like 1, 2, and 1, 3, and it's laid out like arcade. There's not going to be a boss in QBert, is there? Because a lot of these old arcade remakes, they'll like add in boss fights at like between World 1 and 2. Come on, Coily. Demise time. Now I'm really curious if we're going to have a boss fight in QBert. Apple! Yeah. They're like playing around with the style a bit. Isn't that one of the things I should be collecting? Yes. I don't know if the original game had power-ups like that. No. I don't know if the original game had all these power-ups, but I'm liking them. They add immersion. It really makes me feel like I'm QBert. The nice thing about QBert is that it's so basic that you can just load it up and start playing. Excuse me? QBert the movie? Okay, so instead of a boss fight, we got a movie? Oh, I see. Okay, World 2, now we have to start turning things twice. This is exactly what I expected. They took QBert and gave it a couple updates for the Game Boy, and they're good updates, too. The power-ups, the movie, different levels. It's like exactly what they did well when they were remaking, I should say, arcade games. Because here's the thing, what are you supposed to do with QBert to update it, like, in a major way? You can't. You can't give QBert a story. You can't give QBert, a gun. I suppose you could. That would be awesome. So, they're just taking QBert and adding more. And it's good. It's good QBert stuff. I want to check something. Oh my god, there's a map. Why do you need a map for QBert? I just want to see how many levels there are. There are 16 worlds. And your reward for beating the whole game is you get to watch the entire 16-part QBert the movie all at once. That's kind of nice. It's something for an arcade game like this. I know that, I think as the game went on, it starts adding new stuff. I think there's, enemies that start turning boxes back. So, that's going to be a major gameplay innovation. Look, QBert really didn't innovate much. Well, I shouldn't say that. It kind of did. QBert sort of was one of the early, isometric games. You really did not see much like this at the time. I know I've said this before, but these types of games are perfect for the Game Boy. Whenever an arcade conversion comes up, I'm always reminded of something like, oh god, what's a good example? Like Bomberman Act Zero, where they took a very simple arcade game and tried to give it a story and this, crazy, all sorts of new stuff, and it flopped hard. You don't need to do that. You need to do exactly what this is doing. Take the game, add a couple little things, maybe update the graphics a touch, and you're good to go. Hey! What the? You change them back? You jerk! Get back here. I thought you were on my side. Well, I'm out of things to say, so we can stop playing now. Not that I want to. QBert's fantastic. And this game is an excellent version of QBert. It's just, what more do you say about QBert? Besides this. All that game had to do was be QBert, and guess what? It was QBert. One of the best things about classic arcade games is their simplicity, and you really can't get much simpler than a game where all you have to do is move in 4 directions, and the Game Boy took that gameplay and kept everything that made it fun intact. While the game lost its color due to the system, it added a lot of patterns and style that more than made up for it. The gameplay itself was unchanged. All you had to do was move around the board and change the colors while avoiding monsters. They really didn't do much to update the game, instead taking a formula that worked and making sure it worked on the small screen. That said, there were updates that were made, and all of those updates made things better. Unlike the original game, there was a variety of level shapes and sizes, giving the game an actual feeling of evolution. There was level progression, broken up into stages, so rather than just playing until you were out of quarters, you could actually reach an ending. And the little movies in between levels, while certainly strange, were fun, and the reward of getting to see the whole thing through was as good a prize as any for completing the game. None of these were major updates to the formula, but they added up to give a sense of freshness that arcade re-releases need. QBert is a beloved arcade game, and thankfully it made the jump to Game Boy completely unscathed. If you want to experience a classic game from the golden age of arcades, this is a pretty great way to do it. Just make sure the kids are out of the room. Goodness, QBert, watch your language, please. And that's all for another episode of Game Boy Roulette. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to follow the series as we continue to dig through the Game Boy vault. I'm Brian J, and I'll see you next time.